from what I understand, it took you years to land this interview. Is that right?
Yeah, so in 2022, the summer of 2022, I happened to be spending a month in Los Angeles, and the editor of the Sunday Times back then asked me to try and get an interview. And he's been through various different people, so it's relatively hard to sort of find out exactly who was representing him at any one time at that point. But I emailed somebody, and at that point, he was just putting the finishing touches to, I think, Jean de Barry, a film that premiered in Cannes last year, I think. And they said the time wasn't right, but let's stay in touch. And we actually did. And it was one of those sort of, quite frankly, quite rare instances in this business where people kind of stuck to their word. And then about sort of I'd say a couple of years later, they got in touch because he was about to bring out a directorial debut, which is going to be at the San Sebastian Film Festival, a film called Modi, which is about the painter Modigliani. And it was, it's not his directorial debut. He made a film a few years ago, but this was this was sort of his. They were very excited about it, and we had some discussions, and essentially, it did take a long time to finally set a meeting. But I'd say a good 2.5 years after first emailing and having a few emails over the course of that time, we did eventually sit down in a room together.
Jonathan, were you given parameters or no-go zones? Because one of the reasons celebrities increasingly avoid print is that they have zero control over the final outcome. Unlike sitting for a television interview with a known outlet, unlike communicating with your fans unmediated via social media, it's a real trust exercise for someone. And we don't really land on the side of celebrities here at The Nerve, but given the stakes for a Johnny Depp, that's a real risk for him to sit with a print journalist.
Yeah, but I think he's just incredibly old school, which is the point that I do repeat in my piece for many different reasons. But over the last few years in what I do, which is to sit down with people and take our conversation and write it into some sort of narrative, that's what I do. There has been a sense that people want to do it less. They obviously believe that they can, if they're pushing something, that they can push it via social media. There's a sense among the absolute A-list that they don't need to do this anymore. But my argument has always been, which is still just about keeping me in work, is that actually fans do want to hear from them in this sort of format. They don't want to just hear from A-listers on an Instagram post because there's no personality there. You're not learning anything.